Did you make any listings yet, Kevin?
It's today. I'm doing it today, right after
Good,
this.
good for you. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. Just, while we're waiting, I don't, just to fill in
Yeah.
some time here, I'll just give you everybody a little briefing. So, Kevin and I have been talking this week about attracting an associate. And so I learned over the years just about really creating an environment that associates are very attracted to, So one thing we talked about was obviously I think one of the first things associates look for, especially if they're relocating or if they're not from your hometown. If they're from your hometown, I mean, that's a great opportunity. But if they're not from your hometown, is what is in it for them from a lifestyle point of view. So really building up where the practice is and all of the amenities in the area. So we talked about that this week and trying to make it sound very attractive. So when you're talking about Winnipeg, that can be challenging. I mean, unless you're a
In
Jets fan,
Yeah.
wintertime? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
let's go skiing. Oh, wait a minute. Cross country skiing, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the big thing. And then obviously, and so here's the other thing too, is that offering maybe some sort of a signing bonus or having an opportunity for helping out with a residence, like an apartment allowance or something like that with an associate agreement. And obviously you work that into the whole profitability of the associate agreement. But all these things are what the associates think about in making this decision. So to make it as easy as possible a transition for a new associate, if it's a student or a doc that's relocating, or maybe that's done an associateship before, or locums or whatever, you want to try to make it as seamless as possible.
For you, Kev, are they going to be working same hours as you, or are you looking to hand over some shifts?
No, yeah. I had to close down a shift yesterday because my son was in the finals of his volleyball, and that's painful to do.
Did they win?
They won. They won. Yeah.
Yes.
Then it's worth it. It's
Yeah.
all worth it.
Awesome.
But I need to restructure life so I don't miss all kids' activities moving forward. Yeah.
Is your son like you? Is he like 6'7"?
My oldest is 6'6". He's past me now. But
Wow.
he has, everyone assumes sports because me and Ange were both played university sports. He's musical. He has no interest in sports at all.
Cool.
But my other two will be the sporty ones. Yeah.
Are you musical?
Yeah, I mean, I played piano for many, many years, and
Oh.
Ange has, yeah, yeah,
So what's your son play?
oboe and piano. The other day he picked up a saxophone, and oboe is one of the most difficult, so sax came pretty easy to him. So he's dabbling in a bunch of things, but oboe, he's very good at oboe.
What's an oboe? I don't even know what
So
that
he's
is.
doing lots of concert band stuff.
I find that crazy. You can just pick up an instrument and be good at it because you're good at other stuff. Like that's
Yeah, I guess it was similar fingering, or he's got an ear for it, so he picked it up fast. Hmm.
So what's an oboe? I don't know what an oboe is.
I looks like a clarinet, I guess. But the how you play it has a double reed, which is one of the most difficult to learn how to blow into,
Oh, wow.
which is why very few people play it. There's only two in the whole school that play it, and so I think you must know all of the oboists in the whole city, right? There's not
Cool.
many.
Cool.
good to have a specialty.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
here we'll get rolling here. Like some of what you're talking about, Kev, will be in the back half of this call. I'd like to try and keep this to around 45 minutes, pack more in a little less time just to be respectful of everybody's time. Also, people who are picking this up on the recording, it's less time to invest and get hopefully more out of it in that time. So I do want to talk a bit about at the beginning of it. I know on our chat, um, there's been some postings about like this is what Christmas in the clinic or holidays in the office looks like. I want to talk about the pieces that we should be considering as we're in December to really maximize what we in our office, but also our patients in our office can get out of this. I want to talk about that so everyone has a great December and can really build some momentum from Christmas in the clinic. And then at the back end of this, which kind of gets into what you were talking about, Kev, like starting to understand now if we're going to go into the new year based on what we want out of our offices, what we want in our personal lives, what are kind of the goal setting things, what are the discussions we got to have with team structures, like for you, if it's like, hey, need to be around more for my family, or my kids or whatever. If those are the things, okay, so how does that work where my office can still thrive, but I can be in the pieces of my life that I feel are important? So we'll talk into some of those pieces of the reflection, the goal setting. How do you run those? To kick it off, Colin was kind of tipping off on the Marco Polo about the call. So we've been putting a lot of thought and consultation into all ideas surrounding our coaching offerings in DC2. And so we're going to be reaching out to all of you for your input and feedback this month, before we launch these new offerings. And basically, like, if you can put some pre-thought into this, like we're looking for open, honest communication. We want to know like what you love about the program, what you think needs to change, what you want more of, to help formulate these new offerings, and not just what serves you, but what you think would serve more of the profession if we're going to be more united and have more momentum and thrive in all these different areas. The new programs we want to be ready for the new year and are really designed to help more people at different levels. So we'll be reaching out to you over the next couple of weeks, to get some of the feedback. If you guys have feedback and you want to offer it up early, text, email myself, Colin. We're open to non-solicited feedback, but we're going to try and reach out to all of you as well. Anything you want to add onto that call?
Yeah, and I would just say too, to address maybe some of the things that are going through your mind. We've had not just one person, but a few people say that maybe the price point that we were, when we transferred over from Max Living, we just transferred over all of the price points and whatnot. And we found that, and I'm going to say Shaylin specifically, we had a conversation, basically just said that she didn't feel there was enough value. Now, Shaylin didn't get involved in going to Max Living seminars and whatnot. So Brian and I have reevaluated everything that we're trying to provide for you guys, and Dr. Justine has been very helpful as well. So what we're doing is creating some new packages at significantly lower price points. So for you guys that were thinking of, oh my gosh, do I really want to continue at what I'm paying, and what am I getting for what I'm paying? Some people have actually already left, and so we're obviously going to be talking to them. There's going to be opportunities to come in and get similar services, including coaching calls and whatnot, at a lower price. So even if you've just signed up, like for instance, Christine, new client, we'll be reevaluating your services, and you'll have options to go into different packages at different price levels too. Our goal is we want to grow. Like, we want to change the profession of chiropractic in Canada and really get more people on board with what we're doing, because I think we have something great. We have a wonderful group, and we can really make a difference with the profession, but we need to be able to get more people involved. So, and let me just say this, and I don't want to take too much time here. One thing that we will be doing is creating a community, an online community that's separate from Facebook, separate from all the social media stuff. It's going to be a private community where we can offer value and content and make it absolutely free. So bring people in to give them chiropractic tips, practice management tips, inspiration, and it'll be great for students. It'll be great for young docs or docs that just want to kind of audit what's going on, and then obviously have opportunities for them to jump into coaching programs at that point as well. So lots of fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, there's a big piece that we need to do more to support people, I guess, who are struggling, or students and things like that. We've also, we've become cognizant of the fact that like the top program makes sense for people who use everything offered. What we're seeing though is there's a lot of people who want pieces but don't use everything. So then it's like does it make sense? So that's what we're trying to figure out. So again, we'd love your feedback. If you got some feedback you want to hand in right away, shoot us a text, shoot us an email, but we'll also be trying to reach out to everybody in the next couple of weeks as well. So going into this first part, I want to be a bit more of a share piece. I know like Justine has been great. Like, she's put a lot of stuff out there, and maybe Justine, I'll ask you to share kind of right off the start, and then we can ask some questions, what other people are doing and things like that. But like the Christmas in the clinic, I know a lot of us run this. It's a great way to bring energy into the office. It is a month when there's typically not as many external events, so you are relying much more in an internal. We also really look at it as a way to give back to our patients, love on our current patients, heading into like this time of year, raise some money for charity, help people that way. Justine, if you want to share a bit, because you put a lot already on the chat, kind of how you guys think about it, the mindset behind it, then some of the offerings that you have to encourage people, and then if people can ask questions around that.
Absolutely happy to share. So it does involve some co-op student help, but I go through all of my patients who have spent typically if they're been in the office 10 years or more, so they've had 300 plus adjustments, or they're using the other services and they're spending in the neighborhood of $3,000 a year. Those who have spent, $15,000 with our center. I did Blaney Bucks and a Christmas card for them. So we had over $1,000 in gifting to those people who are basically our big spenders. And they come in and we coach the front desk to say, hey, we love seeing you. We love that you're part of our, wellness family. This is a special gift because we really appreciate that you put your health first. So the front desk is coached with a line. This is an amazing gift, be really big happiness. So that is all hand done and done by the co-op students. I just pick who gets it on both my chiropractic side, but also just the rest of the business side for the other services. Then everybody gets a $5 email for Christmas that they can use on product or services as a gift. And then I have the internal generating of new patients, $79 for an exam plus one adjustment if needed, which I sent a picture of. And I basically hand that out and say, hey, just love seeing you, love being a part of your healthcare team, really value that you're here. And I also just love that you care about what I care about. So here's a Christmas gift to pass to a friend, put it in a stocking. And on the back side, one of the best gifts is to do a review because people do judge us based on a review. So please do a review. So I do both sides of the card in case they don't have someone to give, but I'd love to get their review. And so I'm handing out 2 to 3 of those per person. So I think I made like 500 copies or so to give away. And that's all internal. Last year, I think I generated 50 new patients just from those cards. Yes, there are some that just do the exam and one adjustment and they blow away, but that's still the 80-20 rule. 80% start. That's awesome. Makes January that much better. Along with that, we have Christmas in the clinic. So we will be having a Christmas table. The Christmas table will start to get put out on December 16th, and every day gets a little bit more food throughout the 16th to the 24th. And then we have our toy drive, and it's on December 20th, where the toys go to abused women and children in our area, and they get $5 off on that day. It does tend to be a busy day. That comes from Dr. Mike Reed, so it's a stacked day, meaning that we typically will see 30, 40 more people on that day, but it makes me work faster, my team work harder. There's a high energy when there's a lot of people, so my team learns to move at a higher pace. So I love those stacked days. And we had the same for the food drive, and it was awesome. Like we had a full truckload of food. And then the last thing we do have, 2 more things. We have a potluck within the office to generate energy within our team. And then we also have color days. So we have a red day, a green day, a glitter day. And I think this Friday is ugly sweater day or ugly Christmas t-shirt day. So quite a few things that you're just trying to generate all the energy through the spirit. And I find that and I have the Christmas baskets, but they've been out for 2 weeks. And the purpose of the Christmas baskets, yes, it generates some referrals, but mostly it's about mapping into January. When you map your appointments past the new year, then you get ballots for the Christmas basket.
So lots there. Questions on those? I got a few other people are thinking, Justine. So you the gift of health that you give, that's for a free exam for anyone they want to give it to?
No, it's $79 for the exam plus adjustment. So it is not free. So yes, I think it's $150 savings, but so it is a big savings, and I only do it one time a year. I don't give away adjustment any other time, but in a sense, if you look at social media, if it's on the, for $49 for an exam, the $79, the difference, $30 is going towards the adjustment. So it is a discounted fee for the exam and adjustment. And it's just the gift of health. I find a lot of times it's people don't even use them, but it's training the patients that we still want to see more people. Like we still have room to help more people. We have a great team. We're here to help more people because this can be a tough time of the year. And anybody you know that hasn't had a spinal checkup, we would love to see them. So it's a dual purpose, talking about just teaching them that we're here to serve others, and also the best way, the gift that you can help others. If you don't know anyone, because a lot of people, I don't know anybody, nobody's complained. The best thing you can do is do a review, and it has the squares so that they can do a Rate MD, a Facebook or YouTube, Google review. And that's why I sent a picture of it.
With your card for your big spenders, people have been there for many years. How many Blaney bucks do you give them?
So that's a really good question. I got to say that I did downsize this year. I have personally found things more expensive for myself to run the clinic. So typically it used to be in the past, like my, $10,000 a year spenders were getting $100. They still got $100, but my gifts, instead of being in the $30 range, went to $10 to $15 this year. So they got $10 to $15 plus they would have got their $5 emails. So those people would end up with $20 or so.
To spend on whatever they want to inside your office.
And they want a clinic. So whether they want to buy a vitamin or they want to put it towards chiropractic care, they can do whatever they want. Yeah. They can give it away to someone else. Yeah.
So I have two questions, Justine. So, and I hope everybody's picking up on this. So obviously this is something that you do. There's a lot of moving parts here. You have a lot of stuff going on and you do it year after year. So obviously, and this is the big thing, you put systems in place to do this. So this is just not a reactive thing like, hey, let's do a ugly sweater day. Hey, let's do, it's a regular thing that happens year after year. So if you can tell the group how you put the systems in place and how do you empower your team to make everything happen so it doesn't all come back to you saying, hey, can you put up a sign for Ugly Sweater Day, or can you set up a review campaign for these people?
Very good question. I'm going to say that a lot comes on me to make sure it's still delegating, but I have just completed my 2025 calendar for the office. So it goes in a Google Docs for everybody on the team. And then it goes on a big wall in my kitchen so that I can see it every time I could make a tea or I'm eating lunch. And then I have a little calendar. That's what I was working on right away now. So I have a little calendar that I can see every single day for 2025, everything written out. And then because it's all organized in advance, my marketing person, I still have to remind her. So like November, let's get in November. So everything's due December 1st. So 4 to 6 weeks out, she's due to have all the Christmas cards done and all the Christmas emails ready to go out. So the Christmas dinner, I did a Dine with Doc on stress over Christmas. So everything is supposed to be ready in November. And then I delegate it to my co-op students or my scanners, which are students who work sort of 3 hours a week. But the delegating still always and reminding comes down to me, and then I delegate to everybody else at a lower pay rate or a zero pay rate if they're a co-op student. And I get anywhere between 2 and 3 co-op students on a regular basis, but remember that I do give back to those co-op students. So yes, they get gifting, they get chiropractic care, but I'll run a class for them on palpation. I'll run a class for them on how do you do reflexes. I'll run a class on how do you do muscle testing. So they also feel like they're getting something out of their co-op, as well as, they obviously did a lot of work for me to change all our education days and prep all these Christmas gifts.
So the big picture there is great communication, like obviously keeping every staff member up to date and informed on what's happening now, what's happening in the future, and having that plan. So every meeting, you're not just talking about what's happening today or what happened last week. You're talking about what's coming up and being prepared for that. So
yeah, the staff meetings, we do 3 a week, but the front desk is twice a week. They're reminded of what the upcoming events for the next month. And then of course they forget. I love to say they remember, but they don't. They need a reminder for the next week. And then we have a WhatsApp group. So they get a reminder the night before, reminding them like, we're wearing red tomorrow, we're wearing green tomorrow. So they get a monthly reminder, a week before reminder, and then they get a text the night before.
So for you guys that don't do staff meetings, there you go, three staff meetings a week. So There's a little sign there. That's good.
So an action step for people here, like I see Christine in the chat there. So if you haven't even done anything for holidays in the clinic, I'd encourage you to do something, even if it's small. You can start it for the end of this week. You can start it for the beginning of next week. You're still going to get 2, 3 weeks out of this thing. And it could be that you're going to offer 1 or 2 things, right? It doesn't have to be everything. Justine's built this out over a number of years. The piece to this is you would have a work back. So for everything we do, whether it's a workshop, a closure, Christmas in the clinic, holidays in the clinic, whatever it is, then we have this work back that goes back 6 weeks out. And so it's all these things as to what has to happen. And I can tell you, even though we've been doing some of these things for 15, 20 years, very seldom do they go perfect, right? There's always little things that show up. So after you've done it, whether it's be Christmas in the clinic, whether it be whatever, like this is how I guarantee Justine has built out such a huge and well-run program, is we get feedback from everyone in the office, like team, not patients, but team, like 1 or 2 things that went great and 1 or 2 things that we want to improve or make easier. Like maybe it was just way too hard to get this. We didn't get great feedback on this, right? Those type of things. And then when it comes up again, then now you already have this document together. You're like, okay, so when we did it last year, these things went really well. We're gonna do that. We wanted to change this, right? And that's how you start to build on a program and build momentum. Without that's years of refinement. That's why Justine has such a great program there. So that I'd recommend everyone, like you haven't started something, do something, get a basket, raffle off some stuff. It's for good behavior, right? One extra thing we do that Justine may have just didn't mention. So we do all of our preliminary stuff the first couple weeks. The last week after people have had chances to enter, whether it's through Gift of Health, reviews, follows on YouTube, stuff like that. We then start to transition into our last 2 weeks in the office before Christmas. We call it Mission Toronto, and it's just we're talking about, hey, we are setting our 2025 outreach calendar, and we get asked from many different places to come and do talks. We always want to go to our patients are first, and we're donating 1 talk a month to our patients. So, where do you work? Where do you go? What church did you belong to? Where can we come and help? We'll come and do a talk for free. And we're very open about it. And if we're coming, if people need help, we're going to do those exams and donate 100% of the proceeds back to your organization. So we talk about that the last couple of weeks, and that is what fuels a lot of our outside talks, getting to what we call people's places of influence. We'll get to their workplace, their church, their civic group. And it's usually they all want to get booked early because everyone's talking about health, January, February, March. We'll get out there, and that gets us into the community. That gets things going right away.
Hey, and with regard to reviews, and here's something to think about too. If you don't have a campaign to collect reviews on a regular basis, and that being a QR code posted in your office or some sort of sign, flyer, whatever, where patients can scan their phone, that'll take them to your Google page or your Facebook page or whatnot to leave a review. That is a great thing, and I can certainly help you with that if you want some help with that. And the other thing is actually having a system to filter reviews. So I can help you with that too. If somebody leaves a review and they leave a bad review, that would intercept it from being published. There's a system in place that can do that too. So you can still respond to it, but it won't get published. So you can filter it so you take only 4- and 5-star reviews that would actually get published to Google, but 1, 2, or 3-star reviews could actually be intercepted, and you can talk to the person, but it won't get published. So if you're interested in that, let me know.
And that's so just, I know just that reminds just into my head, Colin posted that nice review we had from Sandra earlier in the week. That's a lady who's been in the practice. Like she's been through her first cycle of correction. She's probably 2 or 3 months into her once a week plan now. So her second plan. So I don't know, she's been 7, 8 months in the office. She was referred by her cousin. So she's always had a great relationship and thought highly of us. But because she's a banker and she's a busy person and all these things, she just never got around to doing a review. Even though she gets like texts and things like that as little things, it was never worth it. But then when she's in the office and she's like, oh, held her phone up, went to our Google page, could write a review, like it was simple, and she got 3 tickets to enter into the basket, right? So then, for whatever reason, it made sense to do it this month when she has felt the same way for 7 months. But I'm saying like these little triggers, there's so many great stories inside of your office. Like we do it for testimonies too. If you want to share your testimony, update your testimony. Like some people have been in your practice for years. There's something that again stimulate that good energy. Next thing I want to cycle into then is if anyone hasn't done this yet, you definitely want to look at doing this. I know Christine says just on her first staff meeting, you should also really be, like Justine said, she set her calendar, setting goals, and this should be with your team, and this should be you personally. Like that's where I was getting to where Kev was talking about at the beginning. So he wants to free up some of his time from the office, but not maybe have to change hours. So if that's a goal, these need to be on the plate, and you got to start thinking through these as to how do they happen. So few things you want to start doing. And so that we've done this, everyone's done this at camp. I know we've done it at our Canadian camp several times as well, is you kind of have your wheel and you want to go through that. Being the leader in the office, you should do this first for yourself. And just where are you at in all of those 8 or 10 spokes, depending on what version you use of life. And based on where you are now, where do you want to go as an individual in 2025? From there, that is then going to spin down to your office, because for all of us, our offices are a big part of our lives. So if we're trying to create more family time, how does that happen? Well, I still run my office at the level I want to, right? I need to have better finances. How does that happen? Knowing for most of us who make the majority of our income from our offices, right? I want to have a better relationship or personal time, like all these things. So you want to figure out what do you need first, and then this is going to filter down into the office piece. So everyone should be like, if you haven't done it, like you can just go Google the Wheel of Life. It'll give you a picture and just ranking yourself on each kind of spoke where you at. There's going to be some things that are great. Most people on this line, I guarantee you're going to have some areas of your wheel that are really good and some areas that really stink, right? And so a wheel isn't going to roll well if there's a bunch of flat spots. So you want to look at, based on those, then what do I want to change? And you're also going to have to think, like, is it important for you that it changes? If not, you can set a goal. It's not going to happen. That's probably a whole different conversation or a camp conversation. But then it's going to flow into things you then start talking about with your team. So when it comes to team, you want to be covering this with your team. And it might be that, hey, we want to look at changing hours. Hey, we want to be able to see more volume. Hey, we want to be able to take care of more people in the same amount of time. We want to deliver, corrective care. Now, whatever those pieces are that come up, and you want to talk about the things you've thought of, and you want to start talking about team as to what they want, because the reality is, as much as you want it, if your team doesn't want it as well, you're never getting there. So a great way to open up a team meeting is really starting to understand what the reality is. So like I find in general, many of us, if you've been in practice for a long time, if you've got teams that have been in your office for a long time, our view of the world is like, unless you get into the research, you think it's a lot better than it really is for most people, because you see the people that are doing well, right? They've made a different choice for health. They're not stuck in a medical system. They're not stuck in surgeries and drugs and all this sort of stuff. So like I would go and start collecting headlines, and I would get stats, and you want to talk about the failed health model and really try and get it tangible, so it creates pictures in your team's head as to what people have to deal with if they live in a medical only model of health. And you can build that out. And again, like a Google search, like it's going to take you to all kinds of stuff. Like whenever I do that, it's a lot worse out there than I think it is, because my head's in this world, right? I spend a lot of time in this world. And then you're talking with team, like, is this something that frustrates you or ticks you off? And then you start getting into the conversation. What do we do as a team, or what do we think we can do as a team that can change that? And this leads to an open conversation where your team is going to come up with ideas, and they could be similar ideas to yours. They could be way better ideas than yours. In my experience, sometimes I'll get a team that shoots way higher than I thought. But it's like, okay, so then if these are what we want to do, then you start to work it back. Like, so if we want to take care of more people in the office, so can we fit more people in our current hours? Can we, like, you start to then work back as to what are the things as a team that we can take action on to see that outcome happen. But if you don't get your team on board, none of, like, as many goals or great goals we can have personally, if it doesn't make sense to the team and they're not doing it for something bigger than like a paycheck or a bonus, it fizzles out or lose energy pretty quick. Anything you want to add on that, call?
No, this is awesome. And I'm going to say, so it comes back to the principle that where your attention goes and your energy goes, that's where everything flows, right? So, and Brian alluded to that wheel, and this is a great time of the year to start to look at that and analyze the different parts of your life, because So for some of you, you haven't met your goals in practice. Well, why is that? Well, perhaps you haven't put the energy and the attention into the things that need the energy and attention. For some of you, you might be having relationship troubles. Probably because you haven't put the proper energy and attention into building that relationship. So this is a great little exercise to do, just for your own self purposes, to say, and I'll be totally transparent here. In the last year and a half, our coaching company and our marketing company is exploding. It's demanded a lot of my time. I'm working harder than I ever have in my life. I'm putting in 12 to 16-hour days nonstop. And has it affected my personal life? Absolutely it has, because I sit at my computer most of the day. That's it. So my exercise is not as regimented as it was. I'm still doing stuff, but it's not like it was. My eating is not as good as it was. My relationship with my wife is not as good as it was. So I recognize that. So I'm going to say to you guys, recognize where your life is not where it should be, and start changing your schedule, or even better, and this is what I'm working on, is recruiting the right people to build those people up so those people can build the business. So recruit and train the right people in your practice so that they can help you build the business or take some of the stuff off of your plate to free up your time. And it's all part, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, is I'm reading this book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and he talks a lot about this. So that is really worthwhile thinking going into the new year, to just recreate your life.
And this is a huge, like we're calling it, like the intentionality behind it. Like this is where it happens, because it's easy to get into a season where you got the blinders on, and it could be in any different area. It could be you got a blinders on in something outside of the practice, could be blinders on something inside of the practice, whatever that is. And if you don't sit back to be like, okay, where am I at? Like you have these little things that are kind of like, is it like you have these, like a Nate will talk to you, I feel, but a lot of times you got the blinders on, you're just pushing straight ahead, and you miss those things. And if you don't have a time to be intentional and evaluate, you're gonna end up down a road somewhere you don't want to be, and there's something on the back end that's really suffering. So if you're not intentional about it, then you never know. Like even what, like where Kev's talking about now. So like a number of years ago, I made the conscious decision that being involved more in my son's hockey was something that was important to him, so it was important to me. Taking on a bigger role inside of Max Living, from a mission point of view, was something that was important to me from a heart, a soul level. So knowing that, I then started to work back on this. So how do I do those things? How do I get out of the office earlier so I can be at a practice, a hockey game, an event, a board call? How does that happen? And my office still serve the purpose I feel that we're here to serve. And a lot of those things, like Colin's talked about it, like we have a really highly trained team, and it came down to those things. So I walked into team trainings, and instead of just like, hey, we're going to train on day one, and I just show up, I've reviewed day one. I've looked at stuff. I've looked at stats. I know where we're weak, where we struggle. So it becomes a very powerful training, right? For me, that was the biggest thing, was training team. So it's not all me. And so whether that be, maybe if you're working so hard in different areas, maybe you're not, your fitness maybe is taking a back seat, right? So then where do I create the time? If I still got to do all these things, where's the time I can actually get a workout in, right? Like at one point, because my workout time was conflicting with another board meeting or something I had, I was just skipping, 2 a week. And I'm like, well, that's not really what I had the plan for. Right. So it's really looking at those things. So like you can have a practice, like when Colin was seeing some of his highest volume, he only worked mornings. Right. And so it's getting that intentionality. And this is a great time. What do I want? And maybe you can't solve them all in the first 3 to 6 months of the year, but if you know that's what you want, what are you doing now to put the steps in play? So that's a possibility, and you're moving in the right direction. Any questions on any of that stuff?
Crickets.
Lots of deep thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
So on that, like, action step number one, if you don't have a Christmas in the clinic thing going on, go pick up a basket this weekend and start it for next week. Real simple. And it could just be do a review and print up some gift for health. It could be two little action steps, right? You do this, you get entered in to win, right? Some real simple things. You could have a food table. We put a crock pot out with apple cider in it, so the office smells great. It seems festive. Like it can be little or as big as you want. If you haven't done it, I would say action step is that. Next thing, as soon as we get off this call, because we're going to end it in the next 2 to 3 minutes, go to Google and just search Wheel of Life and just rank yourself. It's a 1 to 10 on each of those wheels. Where am I right now? And then start thinking about, so what areas do I want to develop in the next 12 months? And it's going to flow into, I guarantee, your office, and the time you spend in your office and on your office is going to be part of that formula, which can then come into coaching calls, etc. Everyone good?
Awesome.
All right.
I just gonna, if I have a second, Dad.
Yep.
Because I just finished redoing my will this morning and meeting with the lawyer. For those who haven't done it, I certainly was 5 years. It'd been 5 years since I'd done mine. And just looking at the spousal trust, if you haven't looked at that, that was something new to me. That does let you buy tax time for 3 years. So anybody who does have a spouse, it's something that you may want to consider, and just double checking that it is what you want. Because as we're planning ahead, I'm in the time of planning for me, okay, the next 15 years, what's the exit plan at 65, or what's the slowdown plan? And those aren't decisions you make, in the next year, right? Like those are long-term decisions. I know Colin's been through it, but for some of us who that is a 15-year, 20-year plan, are you looking at your lease? When does that come up? And what are the steps that you're going to do to not just plan for today, next year, but your long-term plans? So when I do my goal setting, I make sure my goals for the following year is always done by Christmas Day. That's my goal. And I write out all my goals. I still do it old school handwritten, but then I like a 5-year and then a 10 to 15-year plan. So I try to write those different ones out. So I encourage everybody to, as you're thinking about the new year coming, just short-term and as well as long-term goals.
Yeah, because the long term really sets that horizon. Like you said, Justine, like the big things you want, it's not like it's not like you can turn on a dime. It might be like turning the Titanic for some of it. Right. So if that's your horizon, and then you back it up into the baby steps that may be happening over the next 6 to 12, but you got to know where you're going. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. That's a really important step. Thanks, Justine.
You bring up a great point, Justine, and the fact that for all of you, I mean, you have a personal valuation. If you have not done your will, like give your head a shake, get your wills done and get them up to date. Or if you did them more than 5 years ago or 10 years ago, things change, like get them updated. So make that a priority in fact, I wouldn't even wait till 2025. Call your lawyer and get it done. For the $300 it's going to cost you, it's well worth it.
Well, not just saying there, Christine put something in the chat there about any other recommendations. She just did her will. All of us on the line, because I know this going through it myself, when I moved to private banking a number of years ago, they do like this big audit for you and everything to justify the cost of having a private banker. But I found it valuable. They looked at a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things they said most business owners miss. So whether it was a fluke or had a good lawyer, I don't know, but I have 2 wills. One's for me and one's for my business. When I went through the private bankers, they're like, you would be surprised how many people in business don't have a will for their business. And it's a huge hole that most people don't realize. And if something happens, it becomes a debacle, to put it. So I'm like, just because it was brought up to me when you said that, Justine, and that there, it is important. You should have 2 wills, one for your business, one for you. Just make sure you have those set up.
Yep.
Good stuff. I just shared the life wheel in the group chat for anybody that wants to take a look at it.
I'm just going to say one more thing on my goal setting. I started giving the goal setting sheet to my kids when they were around 8 years of age. So we used to do it orally when they were 5 or 6, but by the time they were 8, they were filling it out. By the time they were teenagers, they were filling it out more fully. And then they kind of hated me for it, sort of mid-teenage years. Why do I have to do that, Mom? And I'm like, well, it's due before Christmas. That's how a family functions. During the teenage years. But it's interesting, now they're in their 20s and they're going back to it again. So just hang in there for those who have teenagers. What you teach them when they're younger, it comes back. There was for a while, they wanted junk food, and I had to, there was a little bit of debate about junk food, and they know if they went with Oma, they'd get, Dairy Queen in a blizzard. So or dad. So, there is allowing them to fight against some of the small stuff. But if you start those habits early, it's been really a proud moment for me to see them in their 20s and now going back and doing it on their own without me recommending it.
Awesome. For you, just even for the kids, was that Wheel of Life, or is a goal sheet?
It's a goal sheet. I would show them mine that I've been doing it, where it has the 8 levels, like social, spiritual, financial, work, and I would just switch that with school, so they're to have an A average was the beginning, and then to have a 90 average was later. But books that they would read, so it had all the 8 categories, and then family, they would fill in. When they were younger, it might be very little, but they would just get used to the concept, and then later, they start to fill in more as they get old enough to understand more concepts. So we mean at the beginning in the family section might be to see grandma and grandpa twice a year. That might be what they write down. To have an A average, to play AA hockey, or to play AAA hockey, or to go to nationals in figure skating. Like, they would write down what was important to them, and I would not judge it at all. Like, I would just, every goal was a great goal, and then teach them that at the end of the year, before they write the new ones, I said, you probably got 80%. We'd take a big red marker and make a big check on what they got. And, every year they got 80% of what they wrote down, just like us. And then we talk about the 20%. Was that really important? It goes on next year's plan, or maybe it just wasn't important. I didn't really care what it was. It was just the concept of doing it. And I just wanted to encourage, like, if you have young kids, you can start this early.
That's awesome. Okay. Hey, one last thing I just want to leave with you guys is I want you to think this. So a lot of you will make goals for 2025, and some of them are financial goals. Like, I want to get my practice, so I'm collecting 50,000 a month, or I want to collect 80,000 a month, or a 7-figure I want to collect 100,000 a month. But here's a little twist on that thinking. Make enough money so you can give away 50,000 a month. Build your practice so you can give away 10,000 a month. You can tithe 10,000. You can support a charity. You can take care of your family members. I want to be able to give away 25,000 a month. And you think about it that way, and all of a sudden it changes in your mind, and it gives you purpose on why you need to put the time and effort in.
Awesome call, guys. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk to all of you soon.
Love you guys. Yeah. Take care.